Hi, Tone.
What's up, Josh? How you doing, man?
I'm good. I'm excited to chat with you because you're somebody that I've come to really enjoy, and we've been able to work with each other a little bit closer. But for a while, you were somebody who was kind of like on the periphery. And when I saw you, I was like, that guy's cool. Like you just had like this aura about you where I was like, I want to get to know that guy.
Thanks,
And
man.
luckily, I've been able to. And then I want to share at the top here, we were at Tales of the Cocktail 2025. Trick Dog was part of the Focus on Health NOLO tour. And for those that are unfamiliar, it's usually 2 days. First day is education on why, no and low proof drinks are important. The second part is the appreciation side where we get to work with awesome bartenders and throw a party with no and low proof beverages. And yours was one of my favorite parties. A, because I got to work with y'all and the San Francisco boys have always been really nice to me. But B, I got to see kind of in person exactly what I feel like I've been talking about for a really long time, which was it was an actual party and there was like no solemnity to it. Sometimes people see no proof and they're like, okay, so what's this going to be like in a coffee shop? Is it going to be like
Yeah.
quiet? And
Quiet, mellow,
yeah.
chill, relax. Yeah, yeah.
And if you go back and look at the photos of that, it's like, the Pathfinder being poured into people's mouths, like it's
Yeah.
raucous, like the music
Yeah,
was
man.
loud. There was like circus stuff going on. And it just like legit was a rager. And it was just so fun to be able to do that with y'all. And I think what made that extra special is at one point you let me know that it had been a year since you decided to remove alcohol. And that's such a big place to hit that milestone.
Seriously. Yeah. Crazy, crazy day. And like the event was fantastic. And then that day of my 1 year anniversary from sobriety from alcohol being on that day, it felt like this, like everything's lining up. Oh, this is so cool. This is special. I think that yeah, it stopped a year ago, but had no idea where a year I would be and what I would be doing in that time. But I'm like, I woke up, I'm like, oh, this is what I'm doing today. A no low and no proof party.
So walk me back a little bit. How did you come to find hospitality?
God, my first job actually I was a busboy at a restaurant that was in the neighborhood I grew up in, and then I worked brunch, and I would just get my ass kicked as a busboy brunch. Like the brunch scene was cracking. It was a small little restaurant. It's still there, but not the same concept. Small little venue. I'd work from like 8 a.m. till 2 p.m. around service. I was the only busboy, mop at the end and eat my sandwich at the end, just being like, oh, I did it. It's like this, like that first feeling of like accomplishment. Like I crushed service. I'm sweaty. I'm gross, but I'm eating this sandwich and this is my life right now. I'm chugging iced tea. So yeah, I was like 17 is my first job. And then worked at a grocery store for years. And then I got back into restaurants being a busboy. I was like 22 at the time. And then, yeah, that's basically where it started off. And then I got a really great opportunity to go from busboy to bartender, which doesn't happen often ever. And I was at the right time, the right moment. And I seized it fully. I was like, this is what I'm doing. I'm not doing city college anymore. I'm dropping out of school. I'm going to focus on bartending. I'm going to learn my spirits. I'm going to learn craft. I'm going to do this. And, dude, here we are 13 years later, which is insane. And yeah,
What was the appeal of bartending? What stuck out to you?
I think like the hospitality part, I love spirits. I love food. I love cool designs. I love cool menu designs. I love everything that goes around. But what I really, really love is meeting people and meeting new people, hosting, whether it's your birthday, an anniversary, your new job, or whether you're like, I just broke up with my partner. My grandfather just died. Something like that. Just being there for people and connecting is like the best. When I meet new people, I'm always like, yo, I really love what I do for cocktails, blah, 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 blah. But like this interaction is why I love doing what I do. It's like that's the cherry on top is meeting cool people. You know what I mean?
And you're great at it too. I mean, I meant that
Thank
when
you.
I said that you had like an aura about you. It's just like part of your personality is electric. It's just like I feel welcome around you. And then you've got like an excitability factor. It's just like you want to know more about me, which in turn makes me want to like learn more about you. So like that spark that you have across the bar and
Thanks, man.
with people, it really stands out and people notice.
Thanks, man. I try. I really do. I give it my all. Like when I'm done with service, like this week at work, we had a crazy week with this new menu drop and so happy. It all went well. It was great. It's fantastic. But at the end of the night, I was like, I am cooked. Like I am so done. I got home on Saturday night, just like I am. Wow, that was a quite the week, but it felt good. It felt accomplished. And after all these years, I still am like, that was great. That was awesome.
Would those sort of weeks be something that you would kind of like, you know, celebrate with drinking wise in the
Hell
past?
yeah. Hell yeah.
What did
After a
that look
crazy
like?
shift. Oh man. I mean, like, well, in the past, like my younger self, because I've been doing this for 13 years. I feel like there's eras in my career and stuff like that. My younger self, 100%. I get off, have a pop at the bar that I worked at, two or three, walk home. On the way home, I'd have like two or three from another bar, see some friends. Again, that social aspect of seeing people, running into people, chatting with homies that you don't really make, bartending, it's like, you don't really make certain time on your days off for those people, but you go see them when they're working. And that's like that bartender kind of connection. But hell yeah, after when I was younger, for sure. But in 2020 or 20, I think it was 2020. I think when the pandemic kind of you reopened for a little bit, like I think it was like August from like September, then you closed back down. Uh, Nick and I reopened the bar back in Sacramento, and some regulars came in and they were like, "My God, we're so happy to be here. You guys are all here. This is amazing." And like there was that joy, and they're like, "Let's do a round of shots." And Nick looked at me, he's like, "Okay, yeah, let's do like some cheekies." And I was like, "Yeah, I'm not gonna drink anymore behind the bar." I just was like, no more of that for me. It's not that I fortunately was really in control of my alcohol when I was at work because I was always like, this is my job. This is my career. I can't fuck up. I don't want to mess up. I also I'm really hard on myself when I mess up. I put myself to the worst brink in my mind of like where I am. So I'm very hard on myself. So I knew that never wanted to mess up or get drunk and get in trouble at work. So I was like, yeah, no drinking anymore at work. And then I moved forward with that. And I never, even when I moved to San Francisco, I would not drink at work either because it's not really that's not really my thing. And I would have maybe after work too, I would have to drive home. So I was like, get off work and be like, well, I got to drive home. I'm not doing that. Uh, but yeah, my younger self, yeah, absolutely. That was like a thing. Like it was like I earned this kind of thing. Like, I had the shot, I had the beer, you know what I mean?
Were there things kind of like happening in your life or even like the lives of others that you were looking at that kind of like made you have that reevaluation of not drinking at work? Because I feel like some folks, it's pretty easy to just have something behind the bar, but were you kind of looking at bartending as a career and just seeing that as something that just like this will get in the way?
Think I always kind of knew it was my career, or I knew that it was something I'm in love with and I'm not going to give it up until I'm in love with something else. But yeah, I mean, I would see coworkers, act a fool, and I would be like, yeah, I'm not doing that with you because I don't want to be a part of that. I don't want to enable you and encourage you to behave that way. Because I would see people get in trouble, do really stupid things, get fired. And I was always like, yeah, no, I'm good. But then again, I would drink to a point of excess, not clocked into work to do stupid things. So it's like like that was my limit. That was my box. Like, I'm not doing it here, but over here, it's totally fine. You know what I mean? Which is, stupid.
Yeah. What was your relationship like with it in your personal life?
Alcohol was like just something I mean, I'm Mexican and within our culture, I feel like it's just something you just do. It was at birthdays. It was at quinceañeras. It was at the weekend barbecue. It was also with the funerals. It was also when you were sad. It was just something that I naturally just grabbed, whether I'm happy or sad. And I always knew that. And I always knew that, let's back up a little bit. I always kind of knew when I first started drinking that I had an issue because I wouldn't drink like I think a normal person or someone who has a healthy relationship with alcohol. I think now I have a healthy relationship with alcohol because I'm able to work with it. Still love it. I respect it. I have bottles sitting in front of me right now that I'm never going to touch, but I have them because they're cool and they're like a craft went into that. Something worked really hard to present that and make that. And I respect that, which is funny to think because I have these bottles just sitting at me now. And like years ago, I would never keep bottles at home because they would just get drunk. They'd be gone. They'd be like empty with decoration. But now I have a healthy relationship with alcohol. But no, but years prior, even when I was really young, I knew that I had a very unhealthy relationship with it. And I knew that it was something that I was going to have to tackle one day. You know what I mean? Which is,
Yeah.
I think, a really interesting world to live in when you know that, like, oh, I know this is an issue, but we'll deal with it in the future, or something will present itself to make myself change, you know?
What were some of those signs that you could see within yourself that told you that maybe it was different from what you deemed normal?
Just like the abuse, the excess, and then the feeling to constantly have it. Like, I always felt like well, I'm gonna go to dinner, so I gotta have a couple drinks. I'm going out with my friends, I gotta have a couple drinks. I'm watching football, I'm gonna have a couple drinks. And it just was like kind of that normalcy and that just everyday life of patterns and habits. And I'm a year and a half in, which is, I think, 2 or 3 days, it'll be a year and a half, 18 months. And I'm finally out of that like habit forming. Um, I've experienced a whole year of breaking from those normal habits when I would, go for the holidays, for birthdays, for anniversaries, for work trips. I've broken that whole like normalcy in my mind where now it's like, I don't even think about it. Or, we're at dinner, I'm like, let me taste that. Ooh, how's that drink? How's that? And that's feels great to be here at this point in the journey of like, it's just, this is my normal life now. And there's no like calling or itching for it, you know?
Yeah, it's really transcendent because
Yeah.
I always tell people that I had this like going mantra, like whether I needed it or not. It was every day I would just say, just don't drink. Like I would wake up and that's what I would say. And it wasn't like because I had these pressing moments of, there wasn't like bottles calling to me like the Green Goblin mask or anything like that. But it was just like, hey, just remember, just don't drink. And then one day that mantra just kind of like fell out of my mind. And I think it got replaced with me telling myself and others, like, I don't drink, because like when I stopped, it was with like, I didn't know how long I would do it. I was like, I'm doing this. It feels really great. I'm just going to keep going. And then it started like feeling silly to like ever want to do it again. And I think like
Hmm.
that's when something kind of like switched, when the vocabulary was getting a little bit more settled in my own brain of,
Yeah.
in the early days when people are like, why aren't you drinking? It's kind of like tough. You're like, I don't know. I haven't really reckoned with that myself. I don't really know what
Yeah.
to tell you. Like now we're
Yeah.
all uncomfortable.
Yeah, 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 for sure, for sure. And there is that level of like, for I've experienced it, and I'm sure everyone has it, and they stop, but that level of like, am I doing this? Are we here? Am I not, is this the new normal? What am I having? I don't have anything in my hand. I need something in my hand. You know what I mean? It's like, so yeah, it's such a, it's getting comfortable within the new normal, which was before it was uncomfortable. I wouldn't want to be doing these things sober. I wouldn't want to like not have a beer at the game. No, you know what I mean? Um, but yeah, it's
So, who was the person that made the decision? Walk me back to a year and a half ago. What was going on, and what made it click into something else?
so a year and a half ago, we were at Tails. The year before, 2020, 24. And I woke up incredibly hungover where I was like, I think the hangover for people who are really drinkers and who are really are like, like I'm gonna be like functioning alcoholics of like a sense of like party. I don't know. Like there's so many things that like I don't like to put those words like functioning alcoholic or party animals or whatever you may be, whatever. But for me, I knew that I'm gonna get fucked up, but I know I'm gonna wake up at 8 a.m. like I'm supposed to and handle business because that's the man that I am and that's the person that I am. Because I would always be like, yo, I got fucked up, but I'm gonna still do my job because I can still do it. And that's my mentality because I'm tough and I know what I'm doing. So I had this really weird, like, I'm punishing myself in a way, but like, hey, you
Yeah.
wanna do it, And to touch on that real quick too, I had a GM at a bar I worked at, and he wrote this whole paper saying, fuck your hangover. And I was like 23 when I read it. And I was kind of like, this is kind of cool. And it was a whole thing about, I don't want to hear about you having 7 shots of whiskey and then you don't feel good tonight. I don't want to hear about you going to bed at 2 a.m. I don't want to hear about you doing blow in the bathroom. I don't want to hear about that. If you do it, be a grown up and show up and do your job. And I was kind of like, yeah, I like that. Like, do the bullshit, feed your poison, but handle business. And I always kind of like ran with that, which cool, I guess. But you're like still doing the terrible things, but then still being like, I'm doing my job. But I woke up that morning incredibly hungover and being like, I have so much to do. Tails for us is a huge event. We're there for like a week with the whole crew, and it's a great experience, but it's very long. And I knew that morning I had so much to do and I'm so hungover. I'm like, I don't want to feel this again. I don't want to be hungover tomorrow to do the event. I don't want to be hungover the next day clean up. I don't want to be hungover on the plane back home. I'm just done for the week. I'm done. And that was even a big transition because let's see, that was my third trip no, second trip. Sorry, I get them all confused now. There's so many I've done. So it was my fourth. So that was my third, second trip. And I was like, we're in New Orleans. We're doing the event. We'll have a drink after. We'll go to dinner. I'll have a drink. So even then, saying no, or no, I'll have an NA, or I'll have just water, or I'll have a whatever, was even weird for me then. And I even felt like I'm the idiot, or I'm the weirdo. I felt like the black sheep, even though Nick and Josh and Colleen and everyone is so accepting of me. And so there's no judgment from those people, which going through that experience, I'm so grateful I had them, because they don't pass judgment like that, and they accept me for who I am. So being in surrounded by those people in that moment was so good for me, to be around people like that. But yeah, so I finished out the week at Tails, didn't have a drop, got home, spoke to my girlfriend, spoke to my parents, and kind of was like, I think I'm just done right now. And even then I was like, it was July, late July. So I was like, I think I'm done. And then August rolls around, still not drinking. Football rolls around, huge football fan. I love football. And again, drinking and football is like hand in hand. But that season I was like, nah, I'm good. And there was even like a family party on my mother's side, which I don't really see very often. And there was a big party. One of my tias turned 75, and she had a big party. And even then I was like, oh shit, am I gonna drink? I was like, ooh, I'm gonna see some cousins I haven't seen in a while. There's gonna be hella good food, gonna be mariachis, gonna be, dancing. And I was like, nah, I'm not doing it. And it felt good. It felt really, really good. And I think that was my first family event where I went and was sober with the intent of being that way and being like, this is who I am now. And it felt really good to drive from San Francisco to Sacramento, go to the party, hang out, and then get in my truck and drive home, which is something I would never do, because I would get drunk and Uber back to someone's place or something like that and leave my truck and get it the next day. But it felt so good being like, I came here sober, I went here, partaked, had fun, took pictures, ate food, danced, and then just drove home. It felt good to have like that new, like, this is my life now. This is what I'm doing. And it felt good to be like, all right, the first one's in the books kind of thing. It's crazy.
Yeah, it's a great feeling. I mean, I know exactly what that feels like when those milestones hit, of like when the past self is like, well, these are the moments that I'm going to have to. Like, even though I'm not right now, like I always do on New
Mm-hmm.
Year's Eve, or I always do for like
Yeah.
my birthday, and this stuff's coming up and I'm going to have to. And when those just sort of like roll by and you're under like this new way, you're like,
Yeah.
I think I can do this. Like, it's
Mm-hmm.
really big.
And it feels so weird to be like, because your mind will click and you're like, well, this is what I normally do. This is normalcy. But you're like, well, that's not normal anymore now. This is not who I am. I don't want to be that anymore. I don't want to do this. But yeah, then football rolled around, the holidays rolled around. I fucking love the holidays. I know we just got through the holidays. I already miss them. The Christmas tree's down. I miss it already. I love holidays. I love family. I love drinking with family. I love that, having a glass of wine on Thanksgiving, Thanksgiving dinner, having, you know, tequila shots and this and beers and all that stuff. So getting through the first holiday season, not drinking, was a really big step for me and really felt really fucking good. And then 6 months came in, because my 6 months was in January. So I started the new year of like, oh, 6 months in, holy shit. And then my birthday's in February, and then I didn't drink then. And I was like, you know what, man, this is who I am now. I just feel good. I don't need it. I really don't. And yeah, the first 6-8 months was probably I wouldn't say hard. Like, I'm not trying to be like, oh, it wasn't hard for me, or although, but it was just different. And it just felt weird. How about that? It was more weird for me and different than it was hard.
Yeah. How did it compare to your expectations of what you thought it would be like?
I think in my mind, I thought it would be worse. Like, I think in my mind, I was like, going to be like, fuck, I'm going to be so anxious and angry all the time, or itching or fiending, or maybe I'm not going to be able to, like, I'm not going to be normal, but then once you like breathe, talk to yourself, write some stuff down, I think that, and you just breathe. It's going to be okay. It's going to be all right. And I think that once you get over that first initial hump, you're going to be all right, And I think also too, realization that like, you don't need this. You don't. And that's just for me, I respect and admire people that have healthy relations with alcohol, who can be like a glass of wine and be like, I'm good, I'm going home. I'm like, that's awesome, because I can't do that. Like, it's just, I don't think it's in me, and it's okay. And I think giving myself acceptance versus being like, oh, you have a problem and you're a fucking idiot and this and that. Now I'm just like, nah, that's just who you are. And that's okay. You just have to learn to deal with it. and to maneuver around it and accept yourself, you know? It's just, yeah.
What did acceptance look like?
Felt like peace. It just felt like calming peace and honesty. You know, it just looked like you're finally loving or admitting your true self. That you're admitting that, hey, alcohol consumption isn't something that's very beneficial for you. And alcohol consumption in a moderate way isn't acceptable for you, because you can drink half a bottle of tequila and like a 12 pack. And that's not good because it's just not it's not good for anything. But I think just like it just felt like peace and honesty and truth and just realization of just like, this is for me. Which, you know, not to go off like a separate tangent, but I always kind of knew, like I said earlier, I knew I had a problem with alcohol. I always knew that. But I grew up with both of my grandfathers being sober. My mom's grandfather, my dad's father, both stone sober from alcohol since I was a kid. They had their issues with alcohol years before I was born. So I never saw them drunk. I never saw them do, you know, stupid shit or, you know, act ridiculous, you know. But I grew up knowing that they had an issue with it and they removed it from their life. And
They're not me.
yeah. And I grew up being like, they might be onto something. Like after you know, I started drinking when I was 18. And then years later, I always be like, I have an issue with alcohol, and they knew they had an issue with alcohol and they stopped. Maybe I should do that later, you know, not right now because I got a beer in my hand, but maybe later I'll get to that, you know?
Yeah.
But I grew up with both of them not drinking alcohol, and both of them had a very different relationship with alcohol, which I saw as a kid. And I thought that was very interesting because my dad's dad would drink O'Doul's. He would drink non-alcoholic beer. So as a kid, I would see this guy who apparently had a really bad issue with alcohol, but he still drinks things that taste like alcohol, but it doesn't affect him negatively. So I was like, interesting. And then my mom's grandfather, he didn't drink any, no, beers or anything like that. Didn't drink anything like that and never touched a drop of alcohol in front of me. But there had been times where we'd be at dinner or lunch and my grandmother would order a second beer and she wouldn't finish it. It'd be like like barely touched. And then my grandpa would grab it and drink it. And I'd be like, Grandpa, what are you doing? And he's like, what? I was like, why are you drinking that? He's like, it's a beer. I'm like, I know, but you don't drink. And he's like, and his mentality was, I paid money for that. I'm not wasting that. And I'd be looking at him like, but you don't drink. And he's like, yeah, but I'm okay. So I grew up with like, one guy was like, I'm not having alcohol, but I can have things that taste like it. And then I grew up with one guy being like, I'm in control enough where I can drink this beer. It ain't going to affect me.
Mm-hmm.
So seeing that as a young kid and then unraveling all those memories and thoughts and emotions years later, I was like, oh, it was just very interesting to grow up with that. And also to realize, be like, yeah, I got an issue.
When you were making that decision, do you feel like you needed help or just needed a change?
I needed support, and I knew that I had to make the change. And I tell people that all the time. I tell people that because I've had people ask me about, you know, the journey and what did you do and stuff. I always say, listen, man, nobody's going to make the change but you. You have to realize it. You can have support, you can have guidance, you can have comfort and love from people. But until you're ready to really like buckle down and be like, this is it, it's not going to ever happen. But for me, you know, I got a lot of love and acceptance from my parents, from my brothers, from my sisters, super supportive, my partner, like super accepting and loving. And whenever there was times of a drinking went off the rail one night, you know, I was only greeted or responded with love and acceptance of like, hey, this might be an issue versus judgment, fucking being yelled at, that and shit, you know what I mean? That doesn't feel very good. You already know you're in the hole, and then to get finger pointed and yelled at and berated doesn't help. But when you have people that support you, whether your partner, your parents, your siblings, your best friends, you know, Nick is my best friend, and that guy has been so supportive since day one. I made this change, you know, and I think for me, having people that I know love me and accept me and don't give me judgment. You know, my brother, who's my best friend, you know, we would drink a lot together. And that was something we just did for celebrations. Whenever we'd see each other, you know, I don't live in Sacramento anymore. So every time I'd go home, we'd have a few drinks. And even now to this day, he's like, I got you a non-alc beer. You know, I got you some of this, we can do this and we can hang out. And it's like, to feel that love and acceptance from people that you're so close with is like the best. I couldn't imagine going through this journey and not having people being like that. But then again, if you have people like that in your life, they're probably shitty and they don't be in your life, you know? So yeah, love and acceptance from people that are closest with you is amazing. And I'm truly grateful from that.
Was their support something you had to ask for, or did it just kind of happen by the nature of them being good people?
No, I think just the nature of them being good people. I think that just them loving me for who I am and accepting me for who I am is something that they just did. It was like just an instant reaction to act that way. So yeah, I'm super grateful for those people.
Yeah, it's something I want to go back to when you were talking about, the birthday party, and you referenced driving home, which is one thing, but you also said you had fun. And I think that's huge. I think a lot of people
Huge.
think that that's something that doesn't come with it.
Yeah, it's like it is. It's like, you put the stigma of like, again, I think about like this. When I'm behind the bar, I'm so sober and I'm having fun. I'm trying to be funny. I'm trying to be hospitable. I'm trying to like, go with the vibe and my energy's up. So when I was at that party for the first time sober, I was just being like that. But in my mind, I had to work it over, be like, oh, but there's no alcohol in my system. I'm doing all this sober. I can do this. I do want to be a part of this. Or the alcohol didn't make me funnier. The alcohol didn't make me, more outgoing or anything like that, which is something Nick said to me one time when I think it was in like Arizona. So it was like, I remember our last Arizona, it was like one of our first trips, I think, together when I was sober from alcohol. And we were back in the room and we had went out after dinner. And, obviously I'm just there hanging out, socializing with people. And we come back and we're in the room and hanging out. And he's like, how you feel? I'm like, I feel great, man. I feel good. Like, there's no part of me being in this situation. I'm like, oh, I wish I could have a drink. And he's like, yeah, man, like you're hilarious when you're sober. It doesn't mean you don't drink and get funnier. You're just funny when you're sober. And I was like, I actually haven't heard that from somebody. That's pretty funny. That's awesome. Then it kind of hit me. I'm like, oh yeah, that's cool. An observation that someone that I care about and love and respect is near me and said something like that. And then it hit me. I'm like, you're right. Yeah, I don't really need it. So yeah, knowing that, again, it's all about breaking those cycles. It's all about breaking those habits, those patterns, of constantly having to need it. And then being in that moment and being like, oh yeah, I don't need it. We're good.
Yeah, it's wild what you attribute to alcohol when you're using it,
Hmm.
and the role that it does and doesn't play in everything. Like that kind of, noticing of who you are without it is really big because it's such a dimmer switch. Like it's really easy to use of just like, oh man, I'm using this to unwind, or I don't feel
Hmm.
like unpacking that right now. But you don't
Yeah.
realize that the dimmer switch is for everything. So like, were probably moments that I was less funny because of it, made me like
Hmm.
more solemn because of it. And I was just like quieting the parts of me that were good.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure.
Who did you uncover when you removed alcohol?
I uncovered more emotions. Lately, I've been feeling like I've been a lot more emotional. And like, I think it's because maybe like, oh, the alcohol, I don't know what it is, but I feel like lately I've been more in tune. And I've been trying to be more, I've always been a very open person and very honest, and I can articulate my thoughts and express them. But removing alcohol, I still have all those emotions, but some of them would be hot. Obviously, alcohol will intensify things, and I think that some of the emotions would be intensified with drinking. And now that I don't have that, they're still there, and I still need to get them out. So I've been I think a little more emotional, and like happy though, but like in a good emotion, not like depressed or sad, more like just like, fuck, I'm so happy. Oh, fuck, this is so great. And I saw my sister who was pregnant, who just had her baby recently, and I saw her when she was about to pop and her belly's huge. And I just like grabbed her and hugged her, and I was like, I'm so fucking happy right now. And I had to express that to her. And like, I'm not drinking anymore. So I think my emotions are a little different, or I'm feeling things now, or the haze is gone. And I just had to express my joy, happiness for her. And it's just, I've noticed that in the last like, year and a half, or I'd say maybe 8 months. Cause I feel like it's just, I don't know if you feel that way, have you felt that on that journey, but like, do you come in periods of things changing?
Yeah, I got really big into giving folks their flowers while they're around, to a point where, like, some of my friends are probably like, "Dude, shut up, please. We get it.
Yeah,
We love and
right.
appreciate this." Yeah, but it's like after every hangout, I send, like, a letter. I'm like, "Dearest friends, just wanna let you know."
Yeah. But dude, like I get like I love that. Like I love that term, giving people your flowers. 'Cause I do it all the fucking time. I'm always like, I'm probably annoying after a while. Like I probably didn't need to say that, but I needed to say, I needed to get that off my chest. But I feel like I'm more direct and honest and stuff like that.
I
But
feel like
yeah,
I'd rather be annoying with my, like, love and appreciation than my, like, old drunken roast sessions, like, probably a
yeah.
little more appreciated.
Yeah, yeah. I'm pretty sure people like me now for being sweet and honest versus being obnoxious and drunk. Yeah, I'm gonna
Yeah,
go with that one for sure. It's take it or leave it, man. Which one do you want? You want this one or that one? You what do you want?
yeah, there's no in between.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, yeah. But the emotions for sure, I think is something I've noticed, and my palate, my palate. I don't know if you felt that, but man, oh my god, my like tasting food for sure, but like spirits. Maybe because I don't taste them like I used to anymore, or my palate isn't numbed. But man, when I taste things now, I'm just like shit. That's I feel like I'm like it feels like I'm reading the ingredients or like they're like boom in my brain. Like that's what it is. It's so insane. Where like I tasted a drink, I was like, am I freaking out? Like what is the deal here? But I'm like, it's just so intense, so
Yeah.
intense. It's crazy. I love it. It's great, especially what I do. Like I'm in the business of making drinks and bartending. So I love that my palate seems to be better now.
Yeah. So talk to me about that. I mean, you were obviously somebody that wasn't drinking behind the bar or doing your best to not let it kind of like creep into that. In what ways did bartending change for you? What else did you find? Did you view the way that you create cocktails differently or what
Yeah,
happened?
I think it I think it's changed my opinion on well, it's changed a lot as far as like bartending. I think now I have this certain sweet spot for people who aren't drinking who come to the Trick Dog because Trick Dog is a fucking party. We're a party. It's not like you're getting to drink and sit on this couch and it's quiet, it's dimly lit. No, it's dimly lit, you're shoulder to shoulder, it's rowdy, the music's up. It's a party. So having people come in that space and be like, I really want this drink, and knowing that it's non-alcoholic, and them knowing that for the reason, and they order. I have this moment. I have this like in my mind. I'm like, oh, good for you. Oh, that's awesome. And honestly, so yeah, I think I have this deeper appreciation now for people who aren't participating in alcohol, who want to come be in part of the party. Because I've always been in the party, whether I was drinking or not. I'm in the party. We're in it. So people who come in and feel like they feel comfortable being in that environment, I have like a sweet spot for those people, and I've had like this like deeper. I have another connection to them. I think, and bartending has also with not while not drinking has made me think of drinks differently too, and like maybe like lower ABV stuff like that, like no and low proof stuff. I think that way of drinking is great, and I think it still can be fun. And that's after me as a young man being like, I want the 100 proof whiskey. I
Exactly.
want that Manhattan. I want that fucking tequila shot. And then now, I'd be like, no, you should have a shot of sherry. Have a shot of vermouth or have a vermouth and soda. That's delicious. Not having to have this high octane shit to get you there. Um, it has changed the way I think about drinks. It's changed the way I think about people coming in the bar. It's also made me change going to other restaurants and seeing what they offer,
Or don't.
or don't, which is like, fuck, man. I've, obviously not going to say the name, but there's about a year ago. This is like just when I stopped drinking. I think it was like 2 or 3 months after. My lady and I went out to dinner, and it was this place we wanted to check out for a while. Great vibe, great build out, great music, great food. Everything was great. And then I flipped the menu to see the alcohol because I'm like picking a glass of wine out for her because it's something I still enjoy. And I love that too. And then I go, oh, what's their non-alc? I was like, oh, they don't have a non-alc. Okay, maybe they have something like behind the bar. Cool, I'll ask. I go, hey, I don't see anything non-alcoholic. Do you have any non-alcohol options, like a non-alc beer? And they were like, we have a soda water and a Coke. Oh, fuck, man. Fuck, really? In this day and age, like, are you serious? This place is fucking cool, and you have no non-alc beer, you have no non-alc wine, nothing. I was like, I'll take a soda water. Okay, cool. But that part, again, not trying to talk shit or be negative or to be like, you need to offer this. But from a bartender, from a hospitality standpoint, I'm like, why would you should offer all the things. Fuck it. Offer everything. Offer anything that makes you people feel comfortable. I'm not saying you need to have like 20 different varieties, but I mean, you could. That'd be cool. But yeah, it was pretty funny. I looked at her and I was like, damn. And she's like, it's kind of lame, huh? I was like, a little bit, a little bit. Like, everything was really good. And then I was like, what are your non-alc options? Soda water or Coke? Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Take a soda water.
Guess I'll have both.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I'll take both. I'll take a Coke with my starter, and I'll take a soda water with my main dish, please. Thank you. Yeah.
So you work at Trick Dog, which has been like a mecca for NA availability.
Yeah.
I mean, you described it as like a party atmosphere, which is something that I really appreciate about it. Uh, but for folks that are like looking in to bring like non-alc to their spots, or uh, are trying to kind of like change the vibes of where they are. Do you have any recommendations for somebody that is like, how do you start the party if there's no alcohol?
I
Like, what can somebody bring to a program, or what's a good conversation starter for maybe like ownership or management for somebody that wants to bring in non-alc and just kind of like explore that inclusivity?
was a good like how would I'm sorry, I'm having a hard time comprehending the question. My fault.
Like, if you had to go start working somewhere else
Yeah.
and it wasn't exactly like Trick Dog, what parts
Oh,
of
okay,
Trick
okay.
Dog could you bring to a new spot to make it as electric?
Yeah, I mean, I think that people's energy, energy, your presence can change the dynamic of anything. Anybody's presence can generally change a room from being flat to being up. And you turn that music up a little bit, dim the lights a little bit. You create that space within your personality. Like, this is how I'm behaving, so we can all act this way. We can all be rowdy. We can all be, in a respectful manner. Obviously, there's lines. I think that it's all energy, and I think that you know, like with that no and low proof party we did. It's like you create the energy, create the vibe of it being acceptable to not drink alcohol, to not have anything, to taste maybe similar things of alcohol or reminds you of alcohol, but it doesn't have to be the negative effects of it. I think that, and to include people, to include everyone, to have the party for everybody, not just people who want to get hammered, not just and not people who want to geek out on cocktails or geek out on whiskeys or certain spirits, but people who just want to be out in public, people who want to be if people go out, you want to be around people. That's exactly what it is. Or you want to have someone take care of you. So you're looking almost like for human connection in a way. So, why not have that for everybody and create the vibe like that, you know?
I love that.
Yeah.
So what are you drinking these days?
I've kind of stopped on the non-alcs, like the beers. I've kind of started to enjoy like the more like the NA spirits stuff a little more. I mean, don't get me wrong, I still like I love a good I've been drinking, I like a lot is I just had those, the cider, Mighty Dry or the Golden State cider.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, Golden State cider, the non one, fantastic, super good. Great taste, great carbonation on it. It's awesome. But I still really enjoy, Pathfinder stuff. It's the viscosity. It's like the richness to it, man. Maro Lucano dropped one. They do have a non-alc one that's really cool too. We have it in a drink at work, and I really enjoy that stuff too. I also really enjoy, side note, I also really love having shots with people at the bar. People are like, oh, wow, we'll take a shot too. Like, it's non-alcoholic. Do you want one? And be like, oh. Like, I mean, you could have a non-alcoholic shot with me if you want. I mean, I don't drink. I love that. I love that effect or that reaction. People go, oh, I thought you said you don't drink. Yeah, I don't drink alcohol. Doesn't mean you can't drink non-alcoholic stuff like this. That doesn't, it
Yeah.
doesn't mean you can't do that. This doesn't mean it's alcohol. I feel like that people see that and go, oh, they're drinking. That's alcohol. No, it could be Kool-Aid. It could be water. I mean, doesn't have to be alcohol.
Yeah, I still like being included in those
Yeah.
things. Like, I
Yeah.
still love popping NA bubbles and having
Yeah.
something on New
Something
Year's. I love
carbonated
doing
and
a
a
cheap
nice,
little shot.
yeah, and a nice glass in your hand, just chilling. Like it's a ritual thing. It's a fun, it's all, it's all ritual and it's all a part of the experience. Popping a non-out bubble, cracking a non-out beer. I cracked a non-alc beer watching the playoff game this weekend. I was like, this is great. Cracked a beer. This is awesome. This feels good. And there's so many fantastic products out there these days. There's so many cool things. I'm so excited to see where this world is going to be in 5 to 10 years. I think that it's gonna be way different, but still very cool.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
agree.
yeah, yeah.
Tone, what do you love about yourself?
Myself, oh God, I don't know, man. I love that I am pretty headstrong. And I think I get that from my parents. No matter what happens thrown in my way, I'm going to still wake up and be like, we're going to be okay. It's going to be okay. I think I have that ridiculous positivity sometimes. And don't get me wrong, I can be very brash and sarcastic and stuff, but I also have this underline of like, no matter what, it's going to be all right. It's going to suck right now, It's going to be shitty, but you'll figure it out and you're going to be okay. It's all going to be okay because the shitty times, the terrible times, those are only for a little bit. You just got to work through them. You just got to get through that. But I have that. I do have that. I do love that. I try to be pretty fucking positive. I try to be really, I'm really always been that way. Almost a little annoying. Like my brother will be like, you always spin it. I go, yeah, you have to, fuck it. You have to. And you have to love yourself. You got to love yourself. You got to be your number one fan. If you're not your number one fan, nobody's going to fuck about you. You know, nobody's going to believe the hype. But if you love yourself and have some positivity, I think there's a lot you could accomplish. And I think that I'm very appreciative with whatever happened growing up, how my parents raised me. It left me with this, like, we'll be okay. We're going to be fine. It's going to be all good.
I love that. And I love you, Tone. Thanks for sharing today.
Absolutely, man. Thank you so much for having me, man.